Okay, it's Friday, May 29th. Let's talk PlayStation. Alright, so big show. We got a lot of news stories to talk about, and of course that's because E3 is right around the corner, but also just a lot of good PlayStation stuff to talk up. So to start this one off, let's talk about some rumors because, E3 is right around the corner, so industry insiders love to, tease people with all this shit that could possibly be or be not true. But let's get into some of them. So one Twitter user, Tamaki, or one industry insider, Tamaki, tweeted basically, hey, let's just wait until Sony announces the Uncharted Trilogy remaster for PlayStation 4. Not saying that's confirmed or anything, blah, blah, blah. That's just a tweet from some guy who thinks it's going to happen. Apparently, this person has a pretty good track record. That's how these industry insiders usually like to play it up. So maybe we'll see that. I mean, assuming that does get announced at E3, I mean, it's a very believable thing, of course. I mean, I would be surprised if an Uncharted Trilogy didn't happen on PlayStation 4, especially since, we're going to be waiting until 2016 for Uncharted anyway, so, I mean, it would be a nice little stopgap for people that, skipped PlayStation 3. A lot of people moved over from 360 to PlayStation 4, so that one really does kind of make sense. But another rumor is coming from industry insider Shinobi602. He is basically claiming that two big AAA games from Sony are going to be shown behind closed doors at E3, or possibly being shown, actually center stage, which, I mean, you don't have to be an industry insider to know that things are going to be shown behind closed doors at E3, or that they're possibly going to get announced at E3. So this one's kind of like a no-brainer, really. And we won't really know if it's behind closed doors because it's behind closed doors. Therefore, the journalists that are going to see it are going to be signing non-disclosure agreements, which means they're not going to be able to talk about it. So we won't really know unless they're actually shown center stage. And they probably will get shown center stage, or at least one title. I mean, you got to figure something's going to get announced at these press conferences from all these big hardware hardware manufacturers and publishers. Something's going to happen. So again, that's not really a major surprise either. Another industry insider, TDX, claimed that you're going to see more indies coming to PlayStation 4 and Vita. Again, kind of a no-brainer. Not even really news at this point. So kind of makes me wonder why I'm even talking about it. But hey, you can expect that stuff. Okay, but anyway, let's get into some actual confirmed news stories. Until Dawn, we all know that PS4 game that's coming from Supermassive Games, I believe, PS4 exclusive. That kids in the cabin, sort of axe murderer thing, or whatever the fuck's going on. That little horror action kind of game, kind of David Cage style. Not a whole lot of super interactive gameplay, but it's you make your choices and whatnot, and things are possibly going to happen or whatever. Well, anyway, that game's got a release date. So August 25th for North America, and I believe the 26th and 27th for other territories, European territories. You can expect that game to finally show up, and it looks interesting. I'm all about that stuff. A game doesn't have to have super crazy gameplay for me to enjoy it. I like a lot of story driven games. I like making my own choices and stuff like that, like Telltale games or something. I love that stuff, so I'm really looking forward to this title. Now moving on, we don't have a concrete release date, but Sony has given us a little insight on Uncharted 4's release date, because we all know Uncharted 4 delayed into 2016. Now we can know that for sure it's going to come before April 2016. So basically less than a year away, which doesn't sound too bad when you say that, less than a year away. So less than a year away, you can probably be playing Uncharted 4. Unless they delay it again, which I hope not. I would assume that they're right on track right now. So one big thing that happened this past week is Sony had its annual Investor Relations Day, investor call, stuff like that. It's where Sony kind of tells people where they're going with their business and their strategies moving forward and discussing their products and all that stuff. A lot of interesting things came out of that. The first thing being that Sony has basically said we want to go for a more casual consumer base. We want to start appealing to a broader audience, appealing to casual consumers. They really didn't say how they were going to do that. They just said that they wanted to do something like that. No, and that's not really a surprise. Of course, Sony wants to reach that market. It's a much bigger market than the core audience. When we always say core audience, like core gamers or hardcore gamers, whatever term you want to use, it's usually that subset of people like you and me that follow games news, are very understanding and educated on the industry a little bit, and you're not, basically an idiot. I always think of a casual consumer as somebody who bought a Wii and then bought maybe 2-3 games for the rest of its life, or somebody who buys Madden every year, a Call of Duty title every year, or something like that. Maybe a mobile phone player. Casual people. Sony wants to capture a little bit of that market. Not really a big surprise. They do want to make a lot of money there. A lot of not big surprise news stories here. Kind of obvious things, but yeah, Sony does want to do that, and we've said PlayStation makes Sony the most money nowadays, so it's obviously they want to capitalize on that division, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because people always look at this and go, oh, Sony, don't do that, focus on the core gamers. But you gotta understand, Sony Corporation as a whole is a big industry. They're not an industry, a big company. They're a big corporation. So when they have one little division that's doing really, really well for themselves, they can, I guarantee you, they can hire more people. They can bring on more staff. They can get more resources to focus on all these areas in a broader sense, and not just, you know, take away from one to focus on the other. So I don't really think it's a bad thing there. Another thing that Sony mentioned, actually Andrew House mentioned this, is that for PlayStation Vita, we don't talk about Vita much anymore. That's because there's not really a whole lot of big news stories that ever happened about Vita. You know, it's still, I always tell you guys, it's still a healthy little platform that, you know, sells reasonably well in Asian markets. You know, it doesn't really do well in other markets, but software still keeps getting released for it. People still, you know, buy games for their Vita. It's a very niche device, and it's not dead yet, and that's kind of what Sony was confirming in this investor call. They're not, you know, Vita's not dead. They considered it a legacy platform, which a lot of people actually looked at that and go, oh, legacy platform, does that mean you're like done with Vita or whatever? And then Sony re-clarified saying that when he meant legacy, just, you know, original Vita parts, like from the original OLED Vita or something like that's, you know, that's pretty much gone. They're not manufacturing that anymore. They're moving forward with PlayStation TV, the, you know, Slim Vita 2000. They're going to keep manufacturing the system. They're still going to support it. They're still going to give people dev kits, let people make games for it. And they still got this whole big ecosystem where, you know, it seems like every week a game gets released and it's cross-play and cross-buy on PS3, Vita, and PS4. And it's just that ecosystem we always talk about that gets people invested into PlayStation. You buy a PS3, you buy a couple of games on it, and turns out you have PS4 and Vita games already, which gives you an incentive to go out and get a PS4 or a Vita. Because you have your games on the go, then you have it cross-save everywhere and stuff like that. It's that's what I really like about Vita, and it's good to see that even though Vita sales are declining, Sony is still going to keep, you know, producing that thing and letting people create games for it. One big thing that they talked about during this investor call is they pretty much admitted that the 2015 lineup for exclusive games on PlayStation 4 is looking pretty sparse, meaning that there's not really a whole lot of big exclusives coming for it this year. Now, of course, we did have Bloodborne, but two big titles have left 2015. That's Uncharted 4 and Ratchet & Clank. Those both have been pushed into 2016. So Sony is basically admitting, hey, we do not have some big titles coming up in the near future, but we do have big third-party relations we're doing. We want to get third-party content going. That's always a fallback for a lot of the hardware manufacturers, is we got third parties and we can snag up some deals with them, or even if it's not deals, you know, that's still software. It's still something you can play on your PS4 and enjoy. So that's something Sony's focusing on as they get ready for 2016, 17, and beyond. We all know they have tons of developers. They just created a damn new one last week for or they created it a while ago, but the news came out last week that they made a new developer for Morpheus. So I'm just looking forward to it, and at E3 we will certainly see some more stuff. Alright, so this next news story is a trademark. Sony files trademarks all the time, and it usually gives us a good idea of what they're possibly going to be doing. Now, this trademark that they filed was actually filed under Sony Pictures, but the description of it actually involves video games. And it says, I'm going to read it off right here. Downloadable electronic game software, video game software, entertainment services in the nature of a dramatic television series. So filed from Sony Pictures, but clearly it says a video game. So what that means, no clue. The actual trademark itself is called The Player. That's what the item is called. No clue. We just have to wait and see until whatever The Player is, but it will be regarding video game stuff. Considering it's filed under Sony Pictures, and at the end it says, you know, television series, maybe it's a television series. We all know Sony's doing Powers right now on PlayStation Network. They got the first season up there, doing original TV content for PlayStation. I think that's honestly kind of like a lost cause or something, because clearly it's going to get distributed elsewhere. No one's buying a PS4 to watch Powers or anything. I don't know. I think that's kind of not really something they should get super involved in, but I don't know. I mean, I don't work at Sony, so I don't make these calls. Okay, the big news story, which I'm probably going to use this news story for like the title and thumbnail. It's a pretty big one. It's, again, not a big surprise, as I've said like 18 times on this episode now, but Sony is pretty much beginning work on the next PlayStation already. Sony has a job listing open for a senior game programmer, and it describes the person. We are looking for an individual to assist in developing a game used for R&D purposes related to next generation gaming system. R&D, of course, research and development. Every hardware manufacturer, they'll release a system, they'll release a console, a year, 2 years goes by, they will already start working on the next system. Not necessarily, finalizing specs or anything like that. They're still far off from that. But research and development is where they start to like really analyze what they're going to do for the next platform, what they did wrong with the current platform, and really start to begin the creative process to the next piece of hardware. So this is right in line with that. PlayStation 3 released in 2013. We're in 2015. They are indeed working on the next PlayStation as we speak. No doubt in my mind. And of course, this job listing pretty much, cuts the mustard for you. PlayStation 5 possibly. Now, tons of people are skewered in this opinion of where the consoles are going. Some people think consoles are completely dead and irrelevant. Some people think the next consoles will just be $100 boxes that stream games. Some people think we'll just have another set of standard consoles with discs, which is honestly where I think we're going to go, because clearly they're relevant to this day. So it seems kind of absurd to me to think that the next round of systems is going to be streaming or dead. Like Sony, think of it this way: the people that think consoles are going to be dead in the next generation are just, I don't know how you could possibly have that opinion. Sony's selling so many PlayStation 4s, even Microsoft's doing really well with Xbox One. You think they're just going to stop? Like, that's what people are saying, is that there wouldn't be a next PlayStation or Xbox. Like, they'll just stop there. Are you out of your mind? Like, Nintendo is doing awful. They're ready to go for the next system. They've already been very open about that they're working on, that they're getting ready to possibly show off the next Nintendo hardware. And the Wii U's doing awful. It's not even like half. It's not even reached half the install base of the GameCube. The GameCube sold like 24 million systems, and Wii U's, I believe, not even at 10 million yet. So, yeah, to think that consoles are going to stop is just absurd. But yeah, so Sony is going to be working on the next PlayStation 5, more than likely. At this point, they're definitely going to keep numbering the systems. Because so many people were actually for sure thinking the next PlayStation is not going to be called PS4 because Sony's a Japanese company. In Japan, the number 4 is actually considered a bad omen there, so people thought that they would skip the numbering process, but they've stuck with it, and obviously that's a good idea because it's just such a brand thing. It's just so obvious. PS1, 2, 3, 4. So PlayStation 5 is probably coming up in the next, who knows, 3, 4 years, 5 years. That's kind of the big contingency right now, is that a lot of people do know for sure that consoles are coming again. It's just that, how fast are they going to come? PS3 360 definitely had a unusually long life cycle, and that's because they were download ready machines, internet connected machines. They could download patches and stuff like that, and the market also, but game budgets were very high. A lot of developers and publishers have just basically dropped out of this industry because they can't make enough money to stay in it. THQ and stuff, they're gone. So a lot of people are under the impression that this console generation is probably going to be a lot shorter, and I could definitely see that happening. I could also see this one being, regular length, 5 years or so. I don't know. Much like many other people don't know. But I would have to venture that it would be, we've got PS4 for another 3-4 healthy years until we see the next PlayStation and the next Xbox. But Nintendo, of course, is probably going to be releasing their next hardware much sooner because, obviously it's Let's Talk PlayStation, but Nintendo, months ago pretty much confirmed this, that the next Nintendo hardware is they're definitely far along with it, and they're going to be ready to show it in the next few years. So, yeah, I mean, PlayStation 5, who knows what Microsoft has more than likely definitely started work on the next Xbox. You got to figure if this exactly happened with PlayStation 3 when PS3 came out a few years after. Sony definitely started PS4 work. And they were very vocal about that when they showed PlayStation 4s, that, we released PS3 2 years later, around 2008 is when we started to work on the next generation platform, and we asked developers, what do you want to see next in the next system? What did we do wrong with PlayStation 3? And that's how PlayStation 4 became such a good machine, because PS3, of course, had a lot of issues when it first launched. I just want to know what Sony's going to learn from PlayStation 4, because clearly they've done so well already. How can they surpass that? Anyway, that's about it for this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. Turns out I cannot go to E3. I know last week I was talking about that. I can't get the time off of work, which sucks. So close. Had I gotten more time, had I known about it earlier that I could have possibly gone, then I probably could have got the time off of work or something. I don't have enough sick days and all that. That's kind of a big bummer. But, of course, you can still expect me to do E3 videos. So I'll do my regular video covering up Sony's conference and everything. We'll have more LTPSs, discuss all sorts of PlayStation goodness. Goodness. So hey, check out this week's episode of Ryan on Gaming. The topic was gaming stories, how video games have affected me. Somebody asked me a question, hey Ryan, like, how did you get into games? How did it all start for you? How did games affect you? So I get a little personal there. Check that stuff out. It's all personal and stuff. It's all touchy-feely, and I want you to be touchy-feely too. Just don't touch me, because I'm not into that stuff. Unless you're a girl, then you know. Anyway, did you also check out the new YouTube banner? I don't know why I'm doing this when clearly you're watching a video and you're not actually on my channel looking at the banner up. So you can go to my channel and check out the new banner. It's very simple. Got a little bit of characters from everything in there. I'm a huge Kirby fan. Some people actually don't know that. I got Kirby in that banner. Got my Typhlosion in there. Can't go wrong with Typhlosion. It's my favorite Pokemon. Typhlosion all day. San Andreas. Got a little, oh my god, Big Daddy near the avatar. Love Bioshock as well. And of course my channel trailer is up. Figured probably should do that at some point, so I finally made one of those. I don't know. I always like to take these last few minutes of LTPS to talk to you guys more personally, so, and let you know what's going on. So that's what was going on in the last 3 minutes of this video. 2 minutes. How long have I been talking? Long time. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Benecki. Thank you all so much for talking with me. I'll see you guys all next Friday.